Welcome to another edition of Between the Whistles Detroit Red Wings Prospect Report, and this is the draft edition of the Prospect Report that we put on our YouTube channel. We'll podcast it too, so you can get it on podcast. Today, the Red Wings selected Marco Kasper, the centerman from Rögle of Austria, the Swedish Elite Hockey League. And, I see a lot of people, they're not really happy with the pick. They're not enthused with the pick. I understand that. But I also understand what Stevie Y does. Now, what Stevie Y does, he has made a habit of it. You can look into Lucas Raymond when he was the draft eligible. His stats weren't really that great. You could look at a lot of players that Stevie Y has drafted, including Cross Hannes, where his stats weren't that great either. But as soon as Stevie Y drafted these players, they sort of ascended into new levels. They kind of had a good target on their back. They kind of played with a different compete level. The one thing about Marco, he has a great compete level. And one of the things I've been told by other executives is that Stevie Y really uh, loves the compete angle. When he brought in Braden Point, when he brought in Nikita Kucherov to the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of the things that he loved about those two players was their compete level. The way Stevie Y kind of thinks about it is, if you have a good compete level, that means that you can compete at any level because you're gonna adapt to each situation, and that's what Stevie Y thinks. When you look at Marco Kasper, he obviously doesn't have the stats to prove that he is a guy who should be drafted top 10 overall, but he is one of the most well-rounded centermen in the draft. And the one thing that Marco Kasper does really, really well is he's a well-rounded player, but he's starting to come into his own. And I think what Stevie Y is going to do is what he did with Lucas Raymond and Mo Sider and Albert Johansson and William Wallander is he's going to let them marinate in the Swedish Elite Hockey League, because there's no other place that you can marinate better and get better besides the NHL than the Swedish Elite Hockey League. It's a very talented hockey league, and I think that what Marco Kasper really represents is what Stevie Y is trying to build in Detroit. I think when you look at Marco Kasper, he's a guy who is the compete level is off the charts, and that's one of the things that I think is the most important thing about a player. We talk about compete level, we talk about your will to win. Is it or do you have a high enough compete level to be a champion at the next level? And I think there's one person in the room for the Red Wings that knows a lot about that, and that's Stevie Y. I mean, he had a high compete level, and he never gave up at any point in his career. Marco Kasper is just a really talented player, and I'm very excited about the Detroit Red Wings getting Marco Kasper. He's a guy who's gonna he's gonna have a he's gonna have a good career with Detroit. This is a guy who is 18 years old. He's from Austria, 6'2", 187. He drafted, obviously eighth overall, but he's a left-handed shot. Um, Once he grows into his body, I think he has a lot of upside. And when you looked at Lucas Raymond when he was drafted, his stats weren't off the charts. When you looked at Mo Sider, their stats weren't off the charts. When you looked at Cross Hannes, his stats weren't off the charts. What Stevie Y has routinely done is he has picked these players before they were really starting to ascend to new levels, and he picked them before then. And that's what Stevie Y kind of thinks, and that's what he does. And it's a good thing that Stevie Y does that, because you've seen the fruits of his labor with Lucas Raymond, with Mo Sider. A lot of people didn't like the pick, but now you like the pick because you see what they're all about at the NHL level. This is a great pick for the Detroit Red Wings. It's a great pick for Stevie Y again. I mean, I'm not going to say Stevie Y makes all these great picks, but this is a great pick for the Detroit Red Wings in the first round of the draft.